concept. I'm Dr. Bill Loveless. Thank you for watching. Our program today is entitled, What Makes a Relationship Good? Or we could turn it around and say, what makes a good relationship? Either way, there are two operative words. One is adaptability. Adaptability, the ability to kind of adapt in any kind of situation. And the second operative word, and watch for these two words all during our program today, is control. Adaptability on one side and control of the other. Now, the right control is the control of yourself when we talk about a good relationship, not the control of other people. In fact, bad relationships happen when somebody is trying to control somebody else, and they either don't like it or they don't know what's going on, but they don't like what's going on, and so they rebel against what they don't know is going on. And that's a tough kind of situation to deal with, but we're not going to go into that today. We're going to look at today what makes for a good relationship. Today the research is pretty clear that certain things have to happen and certain things have to not happen in order for there to be a good, healthy relationship. So let's take a look at what a good relationship looks at. Number one, diagnosis of a good relationship is both of us are getting the most. Notice the word there, most. Both of us are getting most of what we want and need from the relationship. In other words, what's going on between us is pretty satisfying for you and pretty satisfying for me. We both are getting most, never all, but most of what we want and we need in the relationship. Now, if you look at a relationship at work, where the rules are pretty clearly defined, the work rules are very clearly defined. They set out in some detail how you're supposed to relate to the other people at work and how you're supposed to relate to work. And sometimes these details are very specific, right down to the minutia of how to spend a minute or 5 minutes during the day. Usually, in this kind of situation, people are not getting enough of what they need and want out of a relationship to work to make that a good relationship. And that's why so many people are changing jobs all the time, because they really don't like what's happening. Many times they don't know exactly what to do about it, so they move on. And the same is true in relationships. When we're not getting what we need and want out of a relationship, too many people, instead of saying, well, let's see if we can make this better, simply decide, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to be moving on. A second possibility for the diagnosis of a good relationship is because wants and needs are not the same. We need to articulate our needs verbally or in writing. This is an absolutely crucial situation. I'm a marriage and family counselor. I see an awful lot of couples. And I see a lot of couples that don't have the foggiest idea what they want and what they need from each other. And when I simply sit down with them and say, okay, I've got a pencil here and a piece of paper, let's talk about what you need from each other. Well, they look kind of horror-stricken. I don't know what to say. Well, we're going to make a list of what you need. What do you mean? Doesn't she understand what I need? Doesn't he know? No. And needs and wants are very different. So what I'm saying today in this program is, if you want to have a good relationship, the best way to begin having it is to be clear in your own mind the difference between needs and wants, and have a list of both so you can share it with each other on a regular basis. And of course, the next step would be, if you have a list of needs and wants, then come up with a plan to meet these needs and these wants in a way that both of you can agree on. Now, this is kind of the heart of the program today, because wants and needs are not the same. We need to articulate our needs verbally or in writing. Here is what I need from you, absolutely to function here. Here's what I want from you to make the functioning enjoyable and beneficial and good. So the wants and needs are not the same. They're separate, but they travel together. Needs are exactly what they say they are. Here's what I need. Wants, here's what I would like. And if we can talk and negotiate about this, we're both going to be a lot happier. Number 3, both of us are productive. That's a key word, productive. That doesn't necessarily mean you have a job, but it means you're productive in ways important to ourselves. In ways important to ourselves. Productivity becomes a very, very important part of a good relationship. My wife does certain things so much better than I do, and I do certain things better than she does. And when I see her doing these things, I thank her for it because she's better than I am. I'm not as fast as she is on the computer or the typewriter. I can't begin to be. I mean, she's a real whiz. I very much appreciate that. So she's productive there. I'm productive with ideas, with different ways of saying things and doing things. And so we all have to be productive in ways that are important to us and to each other. And number 4, productivity is crucial and varied. Therefore, it must be spelled out. I'm going to spell it out right now. When I say productivity, what I do mean is some kind of meaningful job. It doesn't have to be a job for money necessarily, but it has to be a meaningful job. It has to be doing something that to you at least and to others is meaningful, and therefore it is productive. On the other hand, we also want to say, when we talk about a good relationship, it does include productivity. People are doing something that matters, something that they're getting paid for, thanked for, that gets noticed. They are productive. Now, there are some other things that we need to look at when we talk about getting a good relationship going. We are comfortable about sharing our satisfactions. We are comfortable about sharing our satisfactions. Every system has something in it that's good. Every system. Every family is a system. You're a system if you're part of a family. I'm a system in my family. And every system has in it something that's good. Find what's good and grow it. Don't spend your time fixing what's broken and what's bad. Don't focus on what isn't working. Focus on what is working and make that better. So we're comfortable about sharing our satisfactions. Number 2, our regular diet of positive feedback strengthens our relationships. When you find something that grows and you want to grow that, and you work on growing that, that's a positive feedback to your partner, and that makes all the difference in the world. And number 3, we are comfortable about sharing tasks and trials that are unpleasant. Tasks and trials that are unpleasant. This can be housework. This can be going to a party you don't want to go to, involving yourself in an activity that's not particularly helpful to you and you don't feel very excited about it, but someone else does, that's important to you. So you're comfortable and you're sharing that unpleasant task with somebody else, your wife, your husband, or someone you care about very much. Very, very important part of living. Both of us get satisfactions from being supportive. We get satisfaction from being supportive. What I said, spend your time growing what works. Growing what works, not spending your time fixing what's broken. We practice the 5-to-1 principle of positive interactions. John Gottman, University of Washington, says, when couples have 5 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction, it is said that's a good relationship. So if you want to measure a good relationship by counting, if you count 5 positive interactions which are verbal, they can be a look, can be a touch. A positive interaction can be anything that gives a positive relationship to somebody else, an approving relationship. I like this, I approve of it. If there's 5 positive to 1, we have a good relationship. If you turn that around, 5 negatives to 1 positive, Gottman says you have a divorce within 2 years. So he actually counts this in his laboratory at the University of Washington and says the 5 to 1 principle of positive relationships is very crucial. And last, both of us are willing and able to adapt. And what I said at the beginning of the program, keyword adapt, or adaption, or adaptability. Another key word is control. We're going to get to that in a moment. These are the kind of the definitions, the description, what I mean when I say a good relationship. Now we have some lessons to learn in relationships. Now keep in mind as I go through these with you today, don't sit there and watch and point to your husband or your wife or your friend and say, that's something you ought to listen to. What I'm really doing is talking about you now. What are the lessons that we have to learn in relationships? Well, there are several. And the first one is thoughts and feelings must be controlled and can be controlled. I'll start with that's the biggie. That's the biggie. Remember what I said, a keyword control, keyword adaptability, keyword control in this program. So rule number 1, thoughts and feelings must be controlled and can be controlled. Don't give anyone else permission to take control of your thoughts. You stay in control of your thoughts. Don't say, well, somebody else made me do it. Somebody else made me say it. Nonsense. That's nonsense. You have the ability to control. Thoughts and feelings must be controlled, and thoughts and feelings can be controlled. Number 2, rule and regulation. I can't. Usually means, I say often, but I'm going to say usually means I choose not to. I talk to a lot of people all the time, every day, and frequently they'll say, Dr. Loveless, you know, I just can't do that. And I stay quiet for a moment as they explain why they can't do it. And invariably, not every time, but invariably, what I finally say to them, you know, what you're really saying to me isn't, I can't. It's, I choose not to. That's what I can't means. Usually it means, I choose not to. Another lesson we need to learn. Other people and circumstances don't make me do it. And that's related to the first one that we talked about already today. Other people and circumstances don't make me do it. Don't blame other people for making you say things. Well, she made me say that, or he made me do that. I didn't want to do that. I couldn't help myself. Don't allow other people and circumstances to make you, quote, make you do it. That's not the way you build a good relationship. Take control of yourself. Don't let other people control you and make you do anything that you choose not to do. Here's another interesting one that I think all of us need to look about more carefully. People don't change until they have to. There is often a magic moment of growth. People don't change until they have to. Some years ago now, I got a computer. I never learned to type in high school. The year after I graduated from high school, they made typing mandatory for every student. I wish I had been there during that year. And boy, oh boy, I just was, you know, 2 fingers. Here's the way I typed. And it was slow and arduous. And oh my goodness, it was tough going. I did email, and my emails took 2 sentences of email. It took me 10 minutes to do. I had an awful time. I was changing. I was forced to change. I was forced to learn how to work a computer. And once I started learning how to use the keyboard, which I'd never learned in school, I had to learn the keyboard. I had to learn how to back space and forward and all that kind of stuff. There was kind of a magic moment. And all of a sudden, the resistance that I had toward working in a computer kind of melted away. And now I feel a lot more at home. I'm still slow because I never learned to type, but at least I'm functional. That was a magic moment of growth for me. Logical reasoning next dictates, stop doing what does not work in the relationship. If you find something in the relationship that's not working, don't do it harder, don't try to do it better, just stop doing it. That's the definition of insanity. When something doesn't work, increase the effort. That's being crazy. So if something isn't working in your relationship, quit doing it. Stop it. And try something else. Try something positive. Try something affirmative. Try something adaptive. Stay away from control, except for yourself. Remember the willingness to adapt. Key word. Remember the willingness to adapt is key. And what I said, adapt, was a key word in this program. The willingness to adapt, to change, to move into something new, to try something different is very, very crucial to building a good relationship. And the next one here I like very much. If anything must be done, it can be done. Oh my goodness. Parents find that out very fast. Kids are, oh, I'm sick, you know, I can't move, I can't get out of bed, I can't do anything. It's interesting how circumstances can change everything. If anything must be done, it can be done. That's another lesson in relationships. You've got to be a better husband. You've got to be a better wife. You've got to be a better parent. You've got to be a better child. If that needs to be done, trust me, it can be done. Goals must be clear. Without unity of purpose, there will be complexity, hostility, and frustration. Goals must be clear. Without unity of purpose, there will be complexity, hostility, and frustration. Now, it sounds kind of funny to talk about goals, but every good relationship has explicit and implicit goals. What are we trying to accomplish in this relationship? What is the goal of being married? What can we expect from each other? If it's complexity all the time, we're never knowing for sure what's going on, the dishes are piling up in the sink, they're never clean, the house is an utter mess, if there's complexity, hostility, and frustration, then there can never be unity of purpose and there can never be goals. And without goals and unity of purpose, you have total chaos. And when you have total chaos, you'll never have a good relationship. Good relationships don't exist in chaotic situations. A chaotic situation can stimulate someone to rise to the occasion and solve a number of problems. That's something I've seen many times, and that's happened to me, and probably that's happened to you too. But we're wanting to look at clear goals, set out, here's what we're trying to accomplish, kids. Here, honey, is what I would like to accomplish today. Here's what I would like to accomplish this year in all kinds of situations. Expect challenges in managing money. Expect challenges in managing money, expect challenges in managing time, and expect challenges in managing family. In other words, when we say goals, we could also say challenges. Challenges come whenever we have a relationship, when we're managing money with someone else. Everybody has a different object to spend money for. Some people like to save money and spend it all at once. Some people like to dribble and spend it a little bit at a time. Some people save up for this dramatic vacation that's going to be a month in Europe. And they save up for 10 years for that. No problem. Just remember, challenges in managing money are part of building a good relationship. Challenges in managing time are also very important when we're talking about building a good relationship, because some people spend time very differently than other people. When I come home in the evenings, if it's not late, I like to make some popcorn. You know, that's how I manage my evening. If I get home by 9 o'clock, I'll make a bowl of popcorn. Does my wife like popcorn? She doesn't like it at all. So I make it for myself. Makes me happy. My wife is sitting there saying, "It's nice, Bill, to see you enjoying your popcorn." There are challenges managing our families. Expect challenges. All relationships have challenges. Narrow and focused is better than big and unfocused. When we talk about relationships, let's spend time on the little things that we know are important, better than big ideas and unfocused. Stay with the narrow and the focused. Here is where we want to look at very carefully. Incentives in good relationships are critical. Where are yours individually and as a family? Incentives. What is an incentive? Incentive is a reason for doing something. A reason for doing something. What incentivizes you to do things in the family? Second question, travel, learning a new language or skill. What's in it for the whole family? If you're learning a new skill, what's in it for the whole family? What incentives are there? What's in it if you're going to travel, if you're going to learn a new skill? What's in it for the whole family? We are uncomfortable about sharing our satisfactions. We don't have to be uncomfortable about sharing our satisfactions. We are interested in doing something positive for ourselves. This is something that we know will make other people happy as well. If we're satisfied, stimulated, and happy, then other people are going to be the same way. We look at another significant key point. The status quo is the great enemy of happiness. What are you doing to fight it? What do we mean by status quo? Status quo means, hey, everything's happy as is. As it is, we are happy with that. This is the status quo. Remember, the status quo is the great enemy of relationships. Don't just drone on year after year, month after month, doing the same thing. Let me tell you what I do when I drive home from wherever I am, I ask myself, should I find a new way home today? There's a way I go on the freeway, then another freeway to get to my house. But I said, you know, there's a lot of ways to get to my house, depending on where I am. And so I will take time and actually go down a road that I don't know where it goes because it seems to be in the right direction toward my house. And my wife says, honey, I get so mixed up when I'm riding with you getting home. I have no idea how to get there. And we've been living in the same house for 20 years. The status quo is something that we need to fight all the time. The way we do things, the way we think, how we eat, how we exercise or don't exercise, how we worship, everything we do can become victimized by the status quo. And the status quo is the enemy of a good relationship. So do something new. Do something different. The status quo is the great enemy of a good relationship. If you want a good relationship with whomever we're talking about, talk with them about doing some new things together. Some things that you haven't done before, some things they haven't done before. Find a new way home. Find a new restaurant. See a different kind of movie. Go to the symphony. Do something different. The status quo is the big enemy of our relationships. And all of you who are watching me today want good relationships. So follow these simple suggestions, and they will make your relationships very much worthwhile. In fact, good relationships are what make life good for us. Now remember, don't try to be perfect. Don't try to be a perfect partner. Don't try to be a perfect relator. Because being perfect is something we human beings simply don't have the ability to do. That's kind of beyond us all. So let me let you off the hook and say to you, simply don't try to be perfect as a relator in a relationship. But always do try to do better.